Welcome back to Tailosive EV, ladies and gentlemen. We have got Model Y Mike, Cybertruck Nick, and Aptera Drew back for today because Randy actually had to service his Model 3 today.
I know.
For reasons unknown at this time. So
I would imagine it has to do with the bumper issue that he had a while ago, that fender bender.
Oh, is that it?
3-car pileup or whatever that he was involved in.
Didn't that happen in like 1983 or something?
I think it
that
did.
Happened a
Maybe it
while
was
ago.
1984. That was when the Macintosh first came out. But either way, I think he didn't have the wrap on when I was out there last, and so it was still just that black bumper on the green Model 3. So I would imagine, I don't know this to be true, and I'm sure Randy will correct us next week. I'd imagine he was getting that rewrapped because he did want to do that at some point.
That makes sense.
Well, hopefully the color matching is at least in somewhat the same realm. I know
they'll have to get a little piece of sandpaper out and scuff up the new wrap so it matches the old wrap.
It's like a very bright plaid texture. It's of completely different color palette. It's like blue and yellow, just on the bumper. That's all he's expecting.
That makes sense.
What I'm waiting for is a plaid wrapped Cybertruck or a plaid wrapped Model S. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Well, that just
Elon has alluded to there being a difference between the plaid Cybertruck and the tri-motor. Do you guys have theories on what the differences is between those two?
I think it'll simply be acceleration. Because what is the plaid currently promises? What, 2.9 seconds of acceleration?
Less than 2.9.
Tri-motor Cybertruck promises 2.9, but everything that's branded as plaid, I think, is 2.5 or lower.
Yeah, but think those are vehicles that are much lighter than the Cybertruck. So
yes,
I would imagine that the plaid model is going to be getting the 0 to 60 speeds that the tri-motor is currently promising, 2.9 seconds. But the tri-motor, if there is a separate plaid and tri-motor variant, the tri-motor will just get that range and will have a reduced 0 to 60 speed.
Oh. Huh. You think those it has to be like one or the other somehow?
Well, I don't think I think the plaid would also hit the range target as well, but it would use a more expensive type of motor that allows it to go that 0 to 60 in a shorter. Because this is a heavy vehicle. What are they? Most people are estimating around 10,000 pounds or so. That's about double the weight of a Model S.
7,000.
Okay. All right.
It probably depends on the config.
I thought with the larger battery pack it would be, people were estimating it would be heavier, but I think those estimates were made before battery day. So it's probably outdated information. But anyway.
Yeah.
We don't know the type of steel either, so.
No, 300 series.
But. Well, Elon did promise that Tim Dodd's Cybertruck could be made out of old Starship steel, which is making a lot of sense because there sure is a lot of Starship steel.
They've got plenty of that to go around. They'll have lots of options for those SpaceX variants of the Cybertruck. Yeah. I loved how Mike texted us when SN10 landed. He said 0 out of 10, no explosion. And then about 10 minutes later, he texted 10 out of 10, explosion.
I think that was most people's thoughts.
Well, I was happy that it
was
landed.
Fantastic.
But yeah, now I'm even more happier that the material could be potentially used for some either SpaceX employee who wants a Cybertruck or maybe a Founder Series Cybertruck, because I don't know how they would... Because they made like the Founder Series Model 3s and Model X's and Model Y's and S's, I guess, as well, which have kind of...
There was a Founder Series of Model 3?
I believe so. I think so. If not, please correct me, but...
I don't think so. I just remember the $1,000 reservations.
Yeah.
It might exist. I just don't know about it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm
no, you're wrong, Mike. I'll go on the record, and I'll be the one wrong if Mike is right. But I like Mike being wrong by default. That's my favorite way to deal with life.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah. It is hilarious. There's a... Oh, I'm seeing it mentioned. Oh, Founder Series will be first delivered to company employees.
So it's just employee vehicles.
So you basically have to know someone to get the better car.
When do you guys
they used to have a lot more color options.
When do you guys think the employee Cybertrucks are coming? I was talking about this with my wife, and she thinks maybe around December, late December, is when we'll start seeing...
This year? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That we'll start seeing at least some employees driving around with Cybertrucks. We'll get all these videos of people stopping at superchargers and talking with these employees and asking, "Hey, when are they coming out?" And the employee's just like, "I'm just testing it."
Don't ask me.
So that happened with Model Y, didn't it?
Oh yeah, everywhere in the Bay. I saw a few when I lived in Mountain View. There's a couple times when I saw them on the road. I'm like, ooh, but never really saw one at a supercharger since, well, I didn't really have a reason to go to a supercharger. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure, at least in Austin, there's going to be that specific case with everyone clamoring towards all the superchargers, just trying to find a Cybertruck.
And Model Y could blend in a lot better than the Cybertruck.
Yeah, definitely. People wouldn't. I think any Cybertruck that hits the road is just instantly going to have everyone take their cell phones out and video it. Even if you're not into Tesla, even if you don't even know what a Cybertruck is, you'll take out your phone and you'll record a video and be like, what am I looking at? Are they filming a movie? Or did, like, Back to the Future happen and I blinked? Or what's going on here?
Terminator 6 happening or something?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a safe bet, maybe around December, because I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with Jeff Roberts' videos, but Giga Texas, after the Austin freeze-over, roared back to life very quickly with getting up the steel, and they've already started taking delivery of painting equipment, which is exciting, because Model Y is obviously coming first, but I no longer think... I don't think Texas will be late. I think... Model Y is being prioritized, and that's why Cybertruck customer deliveries might not be this year. But yeah, employee deliveries around December sounds believable, because that's about when trial production would start, and then they would want vehicles off the assembly line to be tested and employees messing with them. And then if there is an issue, obviously the employee can just keep it to Tesla instead of making a giant news article about it. I think that's kind of the point.
When was Giga Texas's Model Ys supposed to get produced this year? Is there an estimate on that?
Not a specific one. I think he just said like later this year. I'm guessing they meant like Q3 or Q4, something like that.
It's like around October or something.
That assumption sounds about right. Yeah.
They broke ground last summer, and with most gigafactories, you can within a year get things up and running. At least with Shanghai, that's what it was. Berlin took a lot longer because they had to get so many permits for the land before they could actually put steel in the ground.
So many trees.
Whereas so many trees and bats they had to wait for. They had to wait for the bats to get out of the tree.
Don't want to mess with bats. We learned that in 2020.
That was 2019, actually.
Leave them be, tail end of 19. But yeah, Texas went up a lot faster. If you look at start date for Berlin and start date for Texas, Texas is way further along. So that's why I think we could be looking at first dry-in this summer and then prototyping units in Q3 and then maybe first customer deliveries Q4. But it's interesting that Elon, at least in most recent podcasts and earnings calls and stuff, is still pretty confident that trial production of Cybertruck can be this year. He's holding on to that pretty close.
I mean, I think like they could have trial production of just about anything really easily. You can trial produce 3 or 4 units and meet your target. I don't think Elon would necessarily be the kind of guy to do that, but I would say it's fairly good chance that they'll get a few units on one assembly line in a tent in Texas somewhere by the end of the year, and they'll like their trial assembly will be like trying to bend steel or something like that, and they'll be like, okay, you're getting there, but you're not quite there yet.
I think you're spot on with the tent prediction, just because Tesla loves their tents. I'm pretty sure my Tesla was built in a tent.
And so is the Starship, and so is like most of everything that Elon does.
Is Starship built in a tent?
Humanity's
the Boring Company started in a tent. Let's see, I don't think
humanity's greatest creations were built in tents. Well, I think the Wright Flyer was built in like a garage or something. So
wow. Okay, so even the Wright Flyer had better conditions than a Model 3, Model Y, and Cyber.
I don't know. Truck. I think to take the meme a bit seriously, I think that the platform that they're building Giga Texas on, I'm not exactly sure of the directions, but I think the east side is going to be designated for Model Y, kind of how in Shanghai they've redesigned the assembling process to be one straight line all the way through. start to finish. I think that side they're prioritizing, that side that's already kind of built out end to end, that's where Model Y will start, and then the opposite column that they're working on the other end, that'll be designated for the Cybertruck. I mean, I don't know supply chains and logistics as well as they do, but my guess is that they see the tremendous demand for the truck. They know the demand for the Cybertruck is probably going to be maybe not as high as Model Y, but close, like comparable with how well truck sales are and how many people you see in comment sections these days saying like, why get a Model 3 today? Just wait for the Cybertruck. It's brought up in every EV forum. We're just talking about like Lucid versus Plaid Plus Model S. Everyone's like Cybertruck.
No, it's not everyone, Drew. It's just me. I'm the only one making those comments.
Nick just has a whole bunch of alternate accounts going on to every single video that does a video on every single creator that does a video on any electric vehicle. It just turns out to be Nick being Cybertruck. But what about the Cybertruck?
No one has actually reserved one. There's just 600,000 Nick reservations.
Exactly. Thank you.
Nick's just been sandbagging the 3. Instead of the 3 reservations, he has 3,000. Or 30,000.
I like how Nick sandbags his reservation.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think they know that they have a winner on their hands, and because of that pent-up demand, kind of how Elon mentioned, like, we're going to do the truck before the Roadster because that's taken priority. That's why I think Cybertruck won't get tent treatment. I think it'll be a designated section of the factory that they're already working on currently. But you notice all of the Giga Press foundation and all of the paint shop and stuff they're working on are all on that east side of the factory build out. The opposite end hasn't had much put in the groundwork yet, probably because when it comes to the Cybertruck, they're like, what? How do we build it? How do we bend this steel the right way? How do we get armored glass on a scalable production, which I think a lot of people forget about sometimes. It's like, they've never really done mass production of armored glass before, so that's...
No, but Elon is pretty confident on how strong it'll be. He made a few comments, I think, on the Joe Rogan podcast saying that the trial armored glass that they had at the unveiling is a whole lot weaker than what the actual one is, just because it's a trial production for glass, which... we've all seen how glass breaks from Tesla's side of things and other side of things, so I think I'm confident that they'll have a pretty good bulletproof, quote-unquote, glass that you can feel pretty safe.
I don't care if it's bulletproof. I want it to be Franz-proof. Franz-proof.
Again, do we just have Franz at the end of the line with a sledgehammer or a ball bearing?
That's going to be his full-time job here pretty soon.
I mean,
they could save on money. Instead of paying Franz, they could just have one of those like baseball shooter things, and it's just spitting out metal balls at the end of the factory line constantly.
It's like hard hat area hazard.
Was it Franz certified?
And it causes it's Franz. It has little micro abrasions put on every model.
There you go. There you go. And it also makes sure that there are panel gaps on every single Cybertruck rolling out of the factory. It's like, we're going to gap every single panel just a little bit differently. It could be perfect, and it was perfect, but we just made it not perfect because we don't want every Cybertruck to be identical.
True.
It's going to be the one thing that I'm really paying attention with the initial production of the Cybertruck is how bad are the panel gaps with this compared to the Model 3 and the Model Ys that were kicked out of Fremont, at least. Since I'm really hoping that Giga Texas fixes what Fremont has kind of put into the minds of the world of the quality control of these electric vehicles that they produce. Like, is it a good vehicle? Yeah. Is it expensive? Yeah. Is it built well? No.
Are you saying the Cybertruck might not be an impervious vehicle with no flaws?
I mean, isn't that what you wanted, Nick? You said you want to take this thing out on the back road and rough it up and get it as dirty.
Well, I want it to be roughed up, but it needs to be perfect imperfection.
Perfect imperfection.
Perfect imperfection. I think it will. I mean, I'm not saying it'll be flawless. There's usually quality control with any major brand if you're looking hard enough, but I still hold true based on the production quality we've seen out of Shanghai that quality control is a Fremont issue, and if they had the chance to redesign the entire manufacturing process, they could probably assure quality a lot better. And at least there won't be paint issues because Cybertruck can bypass all that. And I don't know, I feel like the panel gaps are more noticeable with the truck because of how straight and flat all of the edges are on it. So I don't know. I feel like there can be a lot of panel gaps on a 3 or a Y that you kind of don't notice because it's kind of curvy and has these bubbly edges, and unless you start really, really looking.
I think that was proven by the first video that you
Cybertruck,
did with the Y, Drew, when you first looked at my Y.
Yes.
We even noted that there's not really too many panel gaps that you can notice, and it's too bubbly enough to really take a look.
Yeah, if you point them out to me, I can notice them. Like if you do the pinky trick where you're like try to put your pinky in one part of the tailgate and then another part of the tailgate, and you're like, see, it's more spacious on this side. I was like, oh, okay. I never do that, but okay. So I'm not like super paranoid about that type of thing. I agree it would be better if it was fixed, but it's not. I don't see it as like a major flaw because Brian from I1 Tesla, I think, brought it up once. He said that Tesla makes like high-priced vehicles, but they're not necessarily high-end. They just all of the money and the tech goes into the batteries and the software, but the reason they get compared to higher-priced vehicles sometimes is because they can be equal on price and have differences in interior quality and stuff, but those other vehicles aren't investing heavily into the.
I'm sorry though, like I like my leather and stuff. I have a leather iPhone case, but all of those Mercedes interiors have nothing on a Model 3 interior. I'm sorry.
In my opinion,
you can't.
yes.
No, objectively, this is an objective fact, folks. Hate me in the comments. All of those dumb Lexuses and Mercedes and all them, it's just not minimal. It's not beautiful. You got like 3,000 buttons and 40 different pieces of clashing material between leather and fake wood and plastic and glossy plastic and rubberized material, and it's just like, pick one and stick with it, please. Also, turn all those buttons into an option menu because buttons are useless these days.
Please avoid all plastic, though. I went to a Dodge Dart at one point, and the Dodge Dart, at least of, I don't know, maybe like 2009 that I drove.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness, everything was plastic and it was terrible. Like, you would think, okay, like, you wouldn't get too peeved over, like, the amount of plastic that is in that vehicle. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe the center console's plastic. Maybe lots of the steering wheel's plastic. Maybe the gear stock is plastic. Maybe the pedals are plastic. That makes sense by, like, manufacturing reasons, but when you actually get in and you're driving it, you're just feeling plastic everywhere. So a little bit more. I mean, I guess the Dodge Dart isn't meant to be a luxury vehicle that has the most amazing materials in it, but yeah, don't go all plastic.
That's like their baseline thing. I don't even know what it looks like. Is it a SUV?
Dodge Dart is like a Honda Civic, but still very underpowered, compact sedan type of thing, and not comfortable.
Yeah, yuck.
It was a snail.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it is a style.
Yeah,
but it's called Dart. That implies speed. That's kind of weird.
I really am hoping that
I've seen
the Cybertruck material, at least for the, is it center console or what do you call it, the where the steering column is connected to? Dashboard. Yeah, I'm really hoping that is some good-looking material. Then, I mean, solid white's okay, but hopefully some color differences would be nice. Besides just the base was it like black and white, which is nice, but I don't know. You can get white pretty dirty.
That's true. It looked like a countertop. I'm for like high quality materials, but as little of them as possible. You know,
exactly.
Like make the whole dash out of something really premium feeling and really nice, but make it one piece. There's not like a million separate individual sections. And I think that in the long term, the style of displays overtaking buttons has already kind of made itself present with computers and phones, and Tesla's picking up on that. But not everyone's
BlackBerry,
into it.
though. I mean, they're just so successful.
So many buttons. Yeah, some people just prefer that. I've seen many people express their interest in having more design options and all those different buttons and stuff. It's a style that some people dig, but I think Tesla made the right call by just saying, like, okay, other people can do that, which is going to cost them more and allows us to save a bunch of money. But to those who do like the minimal interior and love having as little parts as possible, even to a detriment if we're going no gear stock, no yoke, guess what? There's plenty of alternatives. You got your Taycans, you got your Lucids, you got your e-trons to choose from. But we're going to be the minimal ones because we would rather all that money go towards the battery, the tech, the range, powertrain, which I'm like, good. They're being a team player in that way.
Well, I was looking at what is it? We have a GMC Yukon, I think. That's Yukon, right? Yeah. It's like a big SUV. And its dashboard is made out of like 30 pieces of plastic that is just all overlapping each other, and there's so many like little grooves, and I get they have to have air vents and stuff, and maybe they need to like fit it inside the vehicle, but like when they're manufacturing it, they can just slide in a big piece like Tesla and make it all as one big piece. And it's just really distracting when something isn't just seamless and not 80 pieces. I don't want to look at something and have to wonder how did they make this, or why did they choose so many pieces? What was the design constraint that made them make it out of so many different smaller pieces, when you could have just had one slab of what looks like paper mache marble in the front of the world's most perfect vehicle.
The Model Y, correct?
Cybertruck to this day. Yeah. I think Cybertruck to this day is still my favorite, just because of how little there is, which is kind of my dream vehicle, is like oversimplified, extreme minimalism, and I haven't seen an interior that simple yet, because there's not even gear stocks on the Cybertruck, so it surpasses the minimalism of the 3 and Y. I don't know if that'll make it to production, but I guess it might depend on people's response to the S and X pretty soon.
I'm really hoping that they give that steering wheel option to S and X and Cybertruck customers.
Do you think that would be something at checkout?
No, I kind of believe what you've been saying is that I think it comes stock with the yoke, and then you have to go into the service center and get the other one, which I'd hopefully, maybe there'd be some initiative with Tesla's new forums or wherever they've got. Maybe people can be a little bit more outspoken on those. Yeah, engaged. And just push the option, at least on the configurator, to say, yes yoke, no yoke. And from there, it's kind of just more of, okay, we make batches without a yoke and make batches with a yoke. The Cybertruck, that'd be pretty easy, because it seems like there's not too many options. I'm hoping in the next couple months they at least launch the configurator again for the Cybertruck, but give a little bit more detail. I don't think it's going to happen until at least maybe November or October.
Yeah, what's there to configure? What do you expect?
Well, I mean, there's the
solar
camping
panels
package, right? Yeah, solar panels, ATV. At least hopefully another interior
It's a shame.
option.
Everything you're listing I can see getting scrapped.
Trailer. I want to buy
a white interior.
Yeah,
heated seats.
White interior versus black interior. I think.
Don't make heated seats optional.
It's a software thing that you can do on your car.
Yeah.
On a cold day, it's like, your seats are 12 degrees. Would you like to heat them up for 10 cents? Yes.
10 just one time.
Tesla just turns into EA microtransactions all around.
That sounds awful. I think Mike brought it up, though, because obviously he's planning on using your guys' Cybertruck quite a bit, but the back of the seats being white is not ideal.
No.
So
the wife, so I guess we've gone to a detailer and wrapped the Model Y, so it's no longer a naked paint. I guess it's got paint protection film on it.
Right.
And the guy that we talked to has mentioned that the wrapping of interiors is not new, at least if you want to wrap certain specific things either in vinyl or in paint protection film. Paint protection film's kind of going maybe not too overboard, but enough to where like it makes sense of the Cybertruck if you were to paint protection film the back of the seat, and then kids would kind of scuff it up, but it'd be you wouldn't be damaging the material necessarily. You'd just be damaging the paint protection film. But he has said that you can dye them now. It's a new trade that you could at least change the color of the paint protection film. So instead of being clear, like it usually is when you apply it, you can have it be, I don't know, blue or red or silver. I forget.
Is that a blue or red or silver tint to a clear material, or is it like solid blue?
I think it's opaque. I think it's solid blue.
Okay, opaque. Nice.
So he says that currently right now they only offer maybe like 2 or 3 colors. But he's expecting by the end of the year or next year, there's going to be a lot more colors that you can add. So that definitely, that's something that my wife was looking into because she doesn't want the white backed seats. She wants maybe something gray or black, or maybe not black because you got the glass roof, but probably something in the gray or maybe dark blue or something. So it'd be a nice option.
You do electric blue.
Or an electric.
I'm gone. See you later, Nick.
I'm gone. That's the Founder series, the Cybertruck.
Only a Cybertruck.
That's the
only Cybertruck that comes with paint is the Founder series tri-motor.
The Founders. Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if they decide to make the configurator basically what it is right now, and that's like as complicated as it gets.
And then it kind of just becomes you go on to the Tesla shop, and from there you look at Model Y Cybertruck parts, and then from there you can buy the camping package, kind of like for the Model Y you buy I don't know, the different mats or
How does the Model Y do that tow thing? Is that in the configurator, or is that something you have to do?
It is actually. The tow hitch is in the configurator.
I believe it's still in there, yeah. There was, I think, a scare where it wasn't in there, or Tesla was planning on taking it out.
Yeah, they took it off for a few days, but they brought it back. I think they just forgot about it. It didn't seem like an intentional removal. They were just like, oh, yeah, that's right. No one's ordering the tow hitch. I think that'll be a standard on the Cybertruck, though. I doubt that would make it
better
into
be.
I'd hope so. I don't want to go in and... Here, Tesla service, put a tow hitch on this, and Tesla service is like...
Make my truck useful again.
If they're a $39,000 variant trying to cut out as many price things as possible to hit that price point, I mean... I don't mean to make you cringe, but there are a few people that drive trucks that never tow anything. They exist. I see them. I see them all the time.
That's the worry with my wife, is because her parents have a gooseneck trailer, which, for those who don't know towing, the trailer kind of reaches over the bed of the truck and then attaches at the middle of the bed. There's a little ball joint that kind of surrounds and clicks into. And that's something that she wanted, at least for our truck. She wants to at least carry around maybe 2 to 3 horses. But you don't really want to do that necessarily with a bumper pole, meaning the typical way that you tow something with any vehicle is you've got the under the chassis receiver. She wants to have a gooseneck. But with the Cybertruck, it doesn't seem like that's actually possible because they mentioned it very briefly that there's hidden compartments in the bed that you can lift up and put stuff underneath. Which is nice, it's convenient, but it's not good for if you want to do gooseneck trailering or anything like that.
True.
So if there's a way that they can delete that storage and at least have it capable of a gooseneck, I think a lot of people would be very happy for that option.
Yeah.
I think since it's it's not a bed on or frame on
body on frame
construction. I'd imagine they could probably do a fifth wheel setup fairly easily. Just connecting like one cross-supporting beam between the two sides of the exterior and the bed.
Some anchor points.
I can even probably like pop in and out or whatever. It'd be really heavy duty. But I think they could probably do that. I think the biggest problem though would be the wings, or the like normal trucks have the cab and then it drops down and goes on like a 6-foot bed.
You're talking about the slope.
That the slope that the fifth wheel can like kind of go over as it turns. I'm really curious to see how that would work, because you'd have to have your fifth wheel couldn't like break your Cybertruck.
You'd basically
I think the Cybertruck's made out of steel, so it would break the trailer. But
yeah, you'd basically be what do they call? My wife did it the other day when she was backing up the trailer. Jackknifing. Yeah, you'd be jackknifing. You'd have a smaller radius to play with, and you'd be jackknifing a lot more, just because you'd be destroying the angles on your Cybertruck. And I guess that's another thing. They haven't really talked about the storage there as well. They had a picture of it, and that was it. So it'd be interesting to see what maybe different things you could put in there, or what things you can install. Kind of like if it was solar wings that you could kind of tuck up in there, or.
Yeah. He didn't seem too interested in solar after the Joe Rogan podcast. He seemed to be kind of swearing it off again, which bums me out because I think that would be the coolest thing ever. Even if it didn't add that many miles, the fact that it would be free charging just out in the wild is what interests me about it.
And I think there'd be plenty of third-party people who would, make a new Tanto cover or
Tonneau.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever.
You could do that now.
Tonneau cover.
Technically.
Tonneau. Thank you.
Tauntaun cover.
Tauntaun cover. You can. I mean, there's probably a few people that are already doing that with their Model 3s, which, I mean, you might have a better shot at if you're unfolding something and you don't really care where you leave it. Model 3 is going to consume a lot less power than the Cybertruck, so you could probably get a few more miles. But yeah, I wish Tesla would do something directly, since they work so hard on different solar technologies and they make the cheapest solar in America. And it feels like whenever they're in the prototype phase, Elon's like, oh yeah, we'll have a solar option. But then whenever they get closer to mass production, it's like, you want to do what? Oh, that's way too hard. We got to simplify. We're going to get rid of more trims.
Oh my goodness.
This is 3 different models is too much. I think we're going to keep it to... I mean, Elon said that, though, on Twitter. Someone was like, are you going to do the long-range rear-wheel drive? And he was like, there's too much complexities in the lineup. I was like, Elon, there's
in
2.
The Model Y?
There are 2 Model Y.
There's performance.
There's still too much complexity, though.
And neither...
He's like, it's so complicated.
The simplest Model Y is not selling a Model Y.
Was the Model...
They have...
I'm just thinking, like, the Model 3
2
had
variants.
the base... It supported the 18-inch wheels and the 21s. Or no, the 20s. Like,
20s,
and then the Model Y doesn't even support that. It's just directly, you get 21s. That's it. Which just confuses me with his whole statement of, there's too much complexity to the lineup. It's like, no, there isn't. How?
I don't know how you could get more simple than what they've developed so far. I mean, I know that there's some hardware differences with the performance, but they're very close. The same battery size, same number of motors, same interior, like 5 color options, which in the grand scheme of other cars on the market, that's pretty minimal. So I hope Tesla doesn't minimize this further. They're like, let's get rid of midnight silver. Let's get rid of blue.
Let's get rid of the wheels. It just doesn't ship with any of them. It's simpler that way.
That's something you could do with the Roadster.
Sounds like an Apple move. There you go.
Just remove the wheels. It can hover.
There's a high chance of Roadster reservation holders having wheels or tires they plan on using themselves anyway.
I know. If you're just going to hover everywhere, what? Wheels? Where we're going, we don't need wheels.
If you're just going to
I wonder how many times you have to replace the wheels for the Roadster. Because I've heard for Model 3 owners, you get like performance Model 3 owners, you get maybe 15,000 miles on like the wheel that they give you. And then you have to replace it. Which 15,000 miles isn't too much. Like I've done... I think 12,000 miles on my Y in almost the year that I've had, which I guess it's not too bad, but still, like...
That's about average.
Yeah. Having to replace every 15,000 miles isn't ideal.
There goes your gas savings.
So, yeah.
Bye-bye.
So then, like...
Goodyear's happy.
Oh, my goodness. So, like, for the Roadster, it's like...
Very happy.
Was it going to be, like, 10,000 miles or 8,000 miles? Just to drive around with the most amazing vehicle and then replace the wheels?
I think the Roadster is going to have some of the most expensive tires on the market. Whatever ones they showed off the Roadster with back in 2018 now? Wow, that was a long time ago.
2017.
Was that 2017?
Yep.
It was fall of 2017. My goodness. Wow.
It's coming up on 4 years ago.
The most delayed Tesla ever.
Semi, actually.
Is Semi? Because they came out at the same time.
Well, Roadster they said would come out in 2020. So,
but Drew, it's 2021.
Semi they said would come out 2019. Yeah, so Semi is 3 years late. Roadster is 2 years late. So, I mean, 1 year late technically. It could have came out 3 months ago and not been late technically. So, it's only just briefly been outside of when they said it would deliver. But whenever I go back and watch the semi event, I always cringe when they say production starting 2019. Me watching in 2021.
This did not age
when is that happening? No, sadly, but EVs is hard. Making EVs are hard.
Do you think Tesla made the wrong decision in announcing the Semi and the Roadster so soon? I mean, if you think about it, we've had the Cybertruck and the Model Y event happen after that. And the Model Y is already out on the road for a year, right, Mike? And the Cybertruck is going to be out on the roads probably within the next 12 months. And the Semi
that's exciting.
Probably not going to be out on the roads in the next 12 months. There's better chance than not than having, more Cybertrucks than semis in 12 months from now, I think. And the Roadster is being pushed out there because it's dessert. But do you think they announced those a little prematurely?
I'm fine with when they announced them.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it was a good push at least. Like at the time, if you think about it, 2017 they were struggling with the Model 3. They needed at least some light at the end of the tunnel for people, and that guiding light was, well, you're never going to drive a semi, but you're going to be seeing them on the road, and it's an electric semi. Good for stock, good for company health, I guess.
Brand.
Yeah, brand as well. And it's revolutionizing a whole entire sector of automotive industry that no one thought could be revolutionized in that manner. So I think it gave a lot of hope in that regard. And with the Roadster, it's just return of the original, which people like rehashes and remakes. And saying, hey, it's the same thing, but not. And it can do...
Same thing, but better.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it kind of gave a great precedent for the Model S to get updated. Because I think with all the specs that the Roadster could do, it's like, okay, well, I guess the Model S and X are going to die at some point, and the Roadster will kind of become the new luxury EV that people buy from Tesla. And instead, it's kind of pushed Tesla to be more of, okay, well, the Roadster's still taking forever. What can we do? And, I mean, this is at least my thought process, is that they thought, okay, well, we can probably take some of the technology that we're using and apply it to the Model S and X and still get at least some profit margin off of those, because people are still buying it. It's just waning a bit. The rates aren't going too high anymore. But people are...
Plaid Model S never really had an event, though. That's interesting. I didn't think of that.
The Model S?
Not really.
Yeah.
It did.
I mean, I guess it had Battery Day. They mentioned it in Battery Day, right?
Oh, for the Model S Plaid or whatever?
But
yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't there, though.
I was thinking the original Model S unveiling. I'm like, it did. People were invited to the factory. It's just, it wasn't really televised, I guess.
The Plaid variant.
It was kind of it wasn't a traditional unveil, though. It was kind of a 360. It looked like a CES thing. It was like Elon surrounded by people 360 degrees talking about how this car has a giant screen in it and it's very practical and it can seat 7, and he's just kind of trying to sell people on it. It wasn't like your semi or roadster event. It was just kind of like, hey everyone, did you know electric cars can be cool? And everyone's like, oh. I went back and watched it. I was trying to find every Tesla unveil I could, and there I don't think there really was ever like a Roadster original unveil. The original Model S unveil was hardly... I don't even think it was like a Tesla exclusive event. I think it was like other cars there too. It was like a whole car show. Model X had a formal announcement.
Yeah.
That was kind of their first official unveil event of some kind. But that's another example that they said would come out in 2014. It didn't come out till 2016. So I don't think they're lying. I think that Elon just has optimistic views of the future. Like, they probably thought they would be able to produce the Semi by 2019, but they likely were hoping that their battery breakthrough was going to be further along by then and they would be ready to mass produce it. But then obviously it took longer, and they wanted to get it right with the tabless electrodes and the 4680, so they took their time on it because they realized that, intelligently understood that being late but surpassing expectations is better than being on time and being a letdown, which would definitely have done much worse for the brand if they were like, okay, here's the Semi, but it's more expensive and the range isn't as good. that would tick people off, even as cool as it would be. I mean, I would be happy if there was just
a semi on the road. I think one important factor that you missed, Drew, is that in 2017 they're making the Model 3, which the batteries that they're using was being basically taken out of power packs and all the other solar things that they're doing.
Yeah.
So
in
2018, there wasn't really that many batteries that they could work with for the Semi, which was another big factor. They could try to put in,
but they thought there would be by 2019 is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I guess so.
And we're only now reaching that point where they're. I think we are still really. We're still limited by the number of batteries that they can produce, but it's not like 0-day turnarounds limited. Like the line is stopped and waiting for more batteries to come out of the Giga Nevada factory. I think they're at a point where they have, some supply, they have a little bit of margin. They're not so focused on every single battery pack that comes out of the factory. Even though they're on the larger scale, they're still limited by the number of batteries that they can make. I think maybe that's a good point there, Mike. Like they only ever made those 2 prototypes of the Semi, and I think now we're just now starting to see more prototypes of the Semi. And I think that does also have to do a lot with the new battery technology that they've been working on, giving them time to breathe and innovate in both the manufacturing side and the chemical engineering side of making this brand new battery pack and making it more efficient and easier to use.
Yeah.
That's why Elon Musk gets so sick of hearing when questions all the time, because that's all anybody asked him. When this, when that. And he's like, I mean, we don't know. Depending on how the next stage of this process goes, it could take way longer. It could go by really quickly. So I'm hoping he can sandbag timelines more often and just assume things will take longer than they actually will, because that's obviously more exciting when the Model Y is way ahead of schedule or the Plaid Model S comes out in March instead of end of 2021. But my guess is he wasn't sandbagging much in 2017. They were being very generous with how quickly they thought they could ramp everything. And I think when you're in the moment, like 2 to 3 years sounds like a long time, and then once you're burning through the midnight hours and you're trying to ramp Model 3 and trying to figure out Model Y production and you're trying to do all these things, you quickly look up and realize, holy crap, it's been 3 years. Because 2020, I remember watching that event live. That was before I was doing my kind of live reactions things, but 2020 sounded so far away. In 2017. We were like, whoa, they're unveiling something that's going to come out in 3 years. That's a long time. That's going to take forever. And now we're in 2021. It was like, oh man, just blink of an eye. So it's probably going to be the same thing with 2024. It sounds very far away. It sounds very futuristic. And then one day you're just going to look up and be like, oh man, the Snake Charger still hasn't come out. It'll just creep up on you like that. So I do think that Tesla has likely learned since then to sandbag a bit more and expect things to take a little bit longer than they anticipate. I'm hoping they've learned their lesson from that, because you don't want everything you have unveiled to be 2 years late. But Model Y was a good example of them figuring that out. They're just like, it's going to take so long for us to develop this. And then a year later, they're like,
to be fair, it was the easiest vehicle to make in regards to like their current lineup. It was basically just it was the combination of all 3 vehicles that they're making. It's got the power trunk kind of like a Model X. It's got the infinite roof kind of like a Model S. And it's got the body of a Model 3, but just pumped up a little bit more like an X. So
very easy to mass produce, but I still appreciate that they sandbagged the timeline. They could have said, we expect this to be done by early 2020.
I appreciated it too, though.
But instead they said, late 2020, fall of 2020, just to get people's expectations in order, which I prefer is when you can beat expectations on every metric, not just range and performance, but also timeline. If they said Cybertruck coming 2022 and then trial production was in 2021, we'd be like, whoa, great, right on the right in January. But instead we're like, it's late, it's not going to make it, it's not 2021. I don't know, it sets the expectations a bit too high, which is kind of what I think they did with Semi and Roadsters. They made it appear closer than it was, but
do you think that's like maybe a little
break all the records?
Do Do you think that's maybe a little motivational, though, for the employees, the engineers who are working on this? If Elon's like, yeah, it's coming out next year, and they're like, God, we have 5 years worth of work to do. And yeah, it takes them 3 years to get it done, but like at the end of the day, they're still 2 years ahead of what a sane person might have estimated as.
That could be part of it.
Happen.
I feel like you can have internal timelines. You can push people on and say, we're going to say this, but I really want it to be done by this time. That might make the engineers feel like they have it more chill, but who knows? Elon could be doing that for his own reasons.
So as an engineer, Mike, don't you just love it when people get the whip out and just whip you really
That's
hard
every day. It makes me laugh when you guys are saying, oh, yeah, it must be like great for the employees since it's taking 3 years. No, they've been working tirelessly. Well, I mean, Elon makes it sound like they've kind of just had it easy. He's like, oh, yeah, they occasionally work on it. It's like a weekend job. It's like, no, this thing's probably been rehashed multiple times. The body's probably been changed multiple times. How the power system works, how the air conditioning works, everything, even the screen, because the screen's nothing like anything else they've made. Like, I feel bad for those engineers. I mean, it'd be fun working on the Roadster, but man, like, they're probably juggling tasks between, at least for the Fremont engineers, or at least the ones that work in Fremont or Palo Alto. They're probably juggling between fixing Model Y issues or 3 issues or updating it to current spec of what kind of China has made current spec for them. And then, then at some point during the week, rechecking Roadster status and seeing, okay, where's it at? What's changed? Why did this idiot 4 levels over, like 4 cubicles down, change it this way? And then,
how do we get the heat pump in the Roadster?
Oh, it's definitely
we need a heat pump in the Roadster for sure. That needs to happen.
Probably not the prototype, but yeah.
When it's hovering, it has to have a way to dissipate the heat from the
Are we back to this?
in the core.
We gotta always come back to the hovering.
I don't even want to think
What other car though on the market has the CEO of a company even just mentioned that it might hover?
I highly doubt that'll make it to production. I'd be very surprised.
I believe in Elon.
Elon gets his way
Elon,
with
I
that.
trust. It'll happen.
It reminds me of those times he said Model 3 would have a solar option.
Or Model S had a battery that you could take out.
Okay, but this is the guy who's literally going to get us
battery.
to Mars next month, and the guy who's literally getting the Cybertruck made. So so you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a lot he can do, and there's some things that he says where I'm just like, it sounds like something Elon really wants that the rest of the team is going to be like, Elon, no.
Elon, no.
You can't.
As an engineer, I
said, Elon, no. Bad boy.
Please no. This doesn't work. I've already done the calculations. It doesn't work. No, we're doing it. No.
It's probably possible in like a closed box, like you can make a prototype do it, but when it comes to mass production, it's
just sell your prototypes. Sell 3 or 4 prototypes, and those people will be really happy.
Just give it to YouTubers.
No. Yes. This is how you kill people.
Because all YouTubers and TikTokers are very responsible with Tesla's future-looking products.
No, I mean give it to someone who isn't crazy clickbaity. I mean, just give it to someone who knows how to make a viral video, but responsibly. And
so what you're saying is you,
Drew. Never do it again.
So what you're saying is you.
I was thinking Marquez.
Okay.
Actually, I was imagining Marquez would do a good job, or there's just a few like Andy Sly, someone like him. Not someone who's going to go crazy with.
Mike, can you see him? Oh, Starlink! Starlink
set
has
it on
glitch.
fire
This
for
is
a video.
He's really thinking about. No,
he's
Simple.
an exclamation point. He'll be
Hey
back.
guys,
Yeah.
the model, the Roadster can actually hover.
There he is.
But
Sorry.
this is Starlink.
Sorry,
issue.
sorry, we rudely
back.
interrupted you during the middle of your conversation. What were you saying, Drew?
That's okay.
It was actually Elon.
I was just
interrupting
saying. I was just saying a YouTuber could do it responsibly and simple, and not be the. Basically, don't give it to the Paul brothers, but give it to someone who will make one responsible video, like a Mark Rober or a
James Charles.
This is cool. No.
There's some videos online of like helicopters that initially taking off and they immediately just like tip over to the right or left and then just go chook, 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 chook. That's what I expect for some people with the Roadster. Is they're like, oh look, I can hover, and then zoom, boom, 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 boom.
It has to check wind speed before you take off.
Ooh.
Oh,
that's
check,
another
weather
thing. Wind
conditions
shear.
and stuff. I don't know why the three of us always come back to this subject, but this is always what.
It's so
Probably
fascinating.
because Nick is really enthusiastic over it, and I just check him with reality and like, no.
I don't like reality. It's not fun.
And what does Adam Savage says? He says, I take your reality and substitute it with mine or something.
I reject your reality and substitute my own. Yeah, he got that from Doomslayer, I think, the movie. Very bad 80s movie. Do you like the Lucid, Mike?
I do. I mean, I'm drinking out of their mug right now, or at least I'm done.
Where'd you get that,
Lucid.
fanboy?
They gave it for free.
Wow.
Oh.
Have you seen one in
For
person?
free?
Have I seen? No, I don't think they exist in showrooms. I think they're basically Nikola. No, strike that. Get that out of the podcast. No, Lucid.
They're frauds.
Lucid's I think they're.
I don't know what about them is frauds exactly.
I don't know why
what is
this
that
is such a thing.
accusation
Frauds?
coming from?
They're not green.
Ribbit.
There's so many people that comment, like we did our royalty-free B-roll of the Lucid, and someone just commented on the B-roll, Lucid is a fraud, it's all vaporware. It's like, what do you think we're filming right now? Like, you think we're in on it?
It's all
Are they
just
paying
clay.
us? Like,
It's nothing but clay.
I don't understand what part of the company they think is fraud. Is it just that they're taking refundable reservations? In which case, pretty much any EV company is a fraud at that point. If I have not physically seen the vehicle because I have not looked very hard for them, therefore they don't
I mean,
exist.
I don't think they're at where Nick is, but at least they're in New York, or they're becoming available to see in New York. And they're all over the West Coast, and I think one or two other places in the United States. So, it's not like it's not like Nikola, where it's like, oh yes, this is our facility. We've seen it drive around. I love driving it around after the day is over. We can't film it, but I love driving it around. It's great. Like, no, like I saw one on the road the other day, like Drew mentioned, I think in that video or so. Like, I saw one with my own eyes.
I did. You didn't snap a picture, but you drove by a Lucid.
Yeah, it had the green camo on it, and it looked really cool. And of course, I've seen the one in the showroom, and I've driven by their factory, or not factory, their HQ as well, and seen one at least. So it's not like it's not like it's just a one-off.
People were saying in the comments too, they have like friends that work at the factory. They know personally. They're in the paint shop, or the factory's completed. They're just kind of working with supply chains right now to mass produce stuff. And I feel like people swear off any company that hasn't quite hit production yet, just because no one's driving it around yet. But I want to see everyone's reaction once they do start deliveries, and once people do start driving them around. It's like, still fraud though.
It does catch you on the road though. Like when I was driving. Like, usually when you see oncoming traffic, you just see the typical two lights. Usually it's like a square or maybe round or ever. And then you see the Lucid come, it's just like a big line. You're like, whoa, what is that? Like, it's almost like a Cybertruck, or more like...
I was going to say, it kind of sounds like my favorite vehicle.
Yeah, but low profile and a lot more expensive, and has paint. But
those are two terrible things. I want high profile and cheap. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I guess overall, I think Lucid's a good company. I think, they've kind of cannibalized, or maybe not cannibalized, but taken a lot of Tesla engineers and a lot of Apple employees to their company. But that's how a company becomes successful. They take those that have the experience, or at least have some knowledge in regards to automotive engineering, or I guess...
Who are they supposed to hire?
No, let's just hire me, because, of course, I've got all the automotive experience. I know everything about cars. Like, hire me, why not?
You're practically Sandy Monroe at this point, Mike.
I know the basics. I can do calculations like that, and I can do stress analysis. But in terms of, like, the experience of manufacturing a vehicle, I don't have that. So it makes more sense to take those from Tesla or from Apple, who know about electric vehicles or software and technology, and bring those into a company and make, maybe it's very high price, but not a bad product in terms of something that can go long range, has a luxury feel, and is 100% real.
100% real.
As opposed to 93% real. Looking at you, Rivian.
That's what the Roadster hovering is. It's not completely real. It's
an idea.
It's somewhat real. It's an idea. But yeah, I think people are too quick to label someone as a hater or a fanboy, especially in the EV community. I've noticed in the past couple of years of doing EV content now is that in the same video, when I was talking about what'll come out first, Plaid Plus or Lucid Air, there were people calling me a Lucid fanboy and people calling me a Lucid hater. I'm like, so just because someone has mixed opinions on something, that doesn't mean you're either a fanboy or there is a very wide, very present middle ground, I think, with all these brands of like, I like something they do, but I don't like something else they do. And that's really how most of us are with things like Tesla. Like, I think they make the best cars in the world, but I also hate how they removed the standard range Model Y. And I think that was a stupid decision. And I am annoyed whenever I see people say, yeah, standard range sucks. Everyone, 300's better, so we should just get rid of all standard range vehicles. I'm like, that's such a narrow viewpoint, because imagine if someone was telling you that about 400-mile range vehicles. It's like, oh, we decided to scrap all 300-mile Teslas because that doesn't reach our standard of excellence, so we're going to only sell the long-range Model S. Then you'd be like, no, but 300's fine. It's like, yeah, for you, but if you keep moving this standard of excellence. But anyway, there's things Tesla does that annoy me, and there's things they do that I love, and it's kind of the same thing with Lucid. It's like, I feel like people write them off or swear them off as just vaporware because they don't know much about them and assume that they don't have a facility or they don't have prototypes or they aren't road testing. And it's partially Nikola to blame, because Nikola has now convinced everyone to be very fraud trigger happy, to where if anything is unveiled and it does not show up in my driveway in the next 10 minutes, it's instantly vaporware. It's a fraud because I don't see one. And Tesla's real because I can see them in my driveway. So people are just very quick to be like, yeah, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake. And I think that there are bigger Tesla fanboys that I am that are basically like, if it's not a Tesla, it has to be bad. It has to suck, or it's clearly not good enough. But whenever something challenges that, people are very quick to be like, no, it's not good. It's not better. It's not good enough. I'm trying to be more welcoming of competition, basically.
That is so close-minded of you, Drew, to try to be open-minded. That's just so close-minded and
sorry, Nick.
Fanboyish
My
of
bad.
you. I cannot
it's
believe you,
so close-minded to be open-minded.
I'm an extreme centralist.
What? Drew is the center.
Extremely
the
middle
center
ground.
of all centers. He is the centroid of everything.
This is why Drew is the center of the universe. Everything revolves around Drew.
That's very true. Yeah. I think I want to see, because Lucid's alluded to making more affordable EVs in the future. I would love to see their take on a Model 3 competitor in a few years. I know it's going to take them probably a long time, but I think a lot of people are looking at them as like Tesla 2, because there's so many like similarities with how the companies are handling. I know it's not
power packs,
identical, but it's
the
like
chargers.
They're targeting right, the power packs. A lot of the terminology at the unveil, they were like, our mission is to accelerate worlds to sustainable. And I was like, hey.
Yeah, I've heard
and then
that
they
before.
hire all these former Tesla employees. They're starting with high-priced vehicles, and then they want to eventually make lower-priced vehicles. It's kind of Tesla with a twist, but they show up in the news so much, despite, I think I read somewhere they have like under 6,000 reservations total. Like, it's not a huge demographic in the first place to be making six-figure vehicles. So they're talked about a lot, considering how small of the market they're going to take up, at first at least. And honestly, I think Rivian's far more interesting, but people don't talk about them as much.
I mean, at least they drive up to your house.
I feel like they get glossed over.
With a vehicle that you can color on.
Yeah.
Like, I would love that. Rivian just drives up to my house. And I'm like,
true.
all right, I'll break out the colored markers. Let's go.
Yeah, you can draw on them. I just feel like Rivian's going after a market that doesn't have a lot of presence right now. I feel like Lucid's kind of going after something that already has been established, and Rivian's going after, like, what are people not making right now? What is there not much of a market for? I mean, there's a market for it, but there's not much companies tackling this adventure pickup truck, full-size SUV thing, and they kind of stand in their own department.
If Rivian established itself maybe a few years earlier, it probably could have scored big with the pandemic. Because, like, people staying at home, being able to work from anywhere, just get in your Rivian, go up to the mountains or something for the day or something like that. Like,
If only Rivian had a Starlink competitor, too.
Well, Bezos might be working
there you
on
go.
who's coming to market first? Bezos, Tim.
Everyone's got something cooking up because they know EVs are going to be the next revolution, but
except for Ford, apparently they're like, let's make an EV, but we know it's not going to sell well, so we better attach like a well-known brand to it. Let's just wreck the Mustang brand.
Did you?
Otherwise,
you probably don't pay attention too
it.
much to the Mach-E, Nick. But recently, they've had to do a recall on the Mach-E's because there's some bolts that weren't tightened enough or to the right specification, which is.
I thought legacy automakers knew how to manufacture vehicles without problems like this. How dare they? Tesla's just learn from them and not have mistakes.
I just laughed at it. It's like, Tesla's terrible at QC. And then you look at the Mach-E, it's like, oh, I guess it's just hard to make an EV or something, I guess. I guess when you have an EV...
We forgot some bolts.
When you have an electric vehicle, what's a bolt and how do you tighten it correctly? Or what's a body panel? How do you attach it correctly? Like, apparently EVs are just the most, confusing thing ever for automakers sometimes that I laugh at with, like, Tesla and their QC or the Mach-E with its production troubles or the ID.4 with its software problems. Definitely makes me worry and hope that at least these companies, including Tesla, gets a lot of their marbles together and doesn't just spill them over the floor and it's just like, well. Oops.
Have a car. I don't know if you guys saw it, but did you see Porsche unveiled the Taycan Cross Turismo? Is that my pronouncing that?
I believe it's Turismo.
I absolutely
They love picking words that you can pronounce multiple ways.
Taken. Someone's taking
Porsche. Taycan.
I think honestly,
Taycan.
it's not a bad way to branch out the Porsche electric vehicle market. Like, people love the Taycan. I can say it a million times. People love it. It's outsold.
They do?
Yeah,
what? Who? Please introduce me to that one person.
Current.
Oh, it's the best-selling Porsche.
Go ahead. Yeah.
That's not an SUV. It's the best-selling Porsche that's not an SUV.
It's the best-selling electric vehicle Porsche, that's for sure.
No, including the combustion engine Porsches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Look it up, Nick. This is real. This is a thing.
The 200-mile Taycan has some demand.
To the EPA, every time they tested it, it won the Cannonball record. It beat the Model 3 in cross-country road trip
Porsche owners
time,
like the Taycan.
The difference is the Taycan was built to do high range at high speed, whereas the EPA tests for range at lower speed, which is why the EPA ratings of the Taycan are pretty unfair, because they say it's only 200 miles, but that's most of the test being done under 60 miles an hour. Once you start going after 60, that's when people saw range hit 250, 270, and
so what you're telling me is this vehicle is designed to break the speed limit. Okay, I see.
People...
It's designed to go the speed limit.
Sir, do you know why I pulled you over? Yeah, it was because I was trying to get all the range out of my battery. 90 miles an hour? What? Yeah.
I just mean Teslas rarely hit their EPA range at going highway speeds. If you're going 65, 70, you're not going to hit 300. You're not going to hit 350 on that Model 3, whereas the Taycan, time and time again, has shown exceeding their EPA going 65, 70, not over, just at normal highway speeds. So that's why I think EPA should probably reevaluate how they test certain types of vehicles, because it's honestly I give them credit because you'd rather have lower range when you're going lower speeds, because if you're going lower speeds you're probably not going that far. You don't do cross country road trips at 30 miles an hour, but if you're driving around town you could, but it's not what people do. So having a saying your range can surpass 300 miles as long as you keep it under 50 is not very practical, because you're not going to do cross country road trips at that speed. So the range gets a bad rep. I've hated on it in the past too, because I just instantly believe everything EPA says. But in the real world test, it's like, oh, people like this thing. I mean, it's expensive, and that's what Porsche's known for, but Turismo just gives it a little, I guess, a certain amount more.
Can I just say the Turismo's back end does not look good?
Yeah, it reminds me of the Lucid in a way.
For the record. No. It kind of reminds me of like a 70s station wagon, how it just kind of overhangs over the back, and I'm sorry. No.
I wouldn't say pretty, but it's definitely more practical if you're trying to fit. Yeah. It's basically like a shortened SUV.
Yeah, it's like a not as tall as an SUV that I still wouldn't fit in. How about that?
I'd say my experience owning a Volvo 940 wagon, I love the wagon. Ooh. The wagon is great. It's not the most, at least for the 940 wagon, it wasn't the most sporty, but I could put anything in there. I went to Home Depot so many times and put a whole bunch of boards in there, and it was great. And I mean, I don't know if I want to put a whole bunch of wooden boards in a Porsche Taycan Turismo. Oh, geez, 3 words. That I had to really think about saying. I wouldn't really want to put a whole bunch of dirty stuff in there, but it's still like if you're moving, or I don't know, maybe you're moving a whole bunch of luxurious lamps or something, or I don't know. Maybe you don't really care. Maybe you want to put boards in there. Yeah. Sure. At least you have the capability with this really neat electric wagonish vehicle. I think it's honestly not a bad choice. They could have gone with an SUV. They could have gone with a more sportier sedan.
That's obviously next. They just haven't done it yet.
They could have just gone with a Cybertruck, though. They could have just designed the Porsche Cybertruck.
What would a Porsche Cybertruck look?
I'm sure Porsche fans
would just have like a bubbly front.
Instantly fall in love with.
It would have a bubbly front, but just an angular back end.
Someone needs to make that. Maybe Alwyn Art can make a Porsche.
Yes.
A Porsche Cybertruck.
If Porsche made a truck, I want to see Lucid make a truck.
Go against Tesla and Rivian with a luxurious truck. It'd be like a Lincoln. I forget what the name of the Lincoln truck is that they discontinued. It'd be like that.
Oh, I forgot about
that. Doors on the back tailgate instead of opening down. It opens up sideways.
Oh yeah. Oh that was
the most luxurious truck experience.
Until Cybertruck.
You can also recline in the back as well, like the airplane seats that are coming to Lucid in like 2 years.
Yeah, there you go.
I know that sounds crazy, but there's a lot of people that drive trucks around for things that totally could be done with a sedan all the time.
So
I notice it.
When you get a truck, you have two kinds of people buy a truck. They're the kind of people who are like, I need a truck because I have this and that work project that I need to do. I need to be able to haul this and that. And 9 times out of 10, I'm still going to be driving my sedan on my commute, but like the truck is there for trucky things. And that's not quite as many people as this next group, who is the kind of people who buy a truck because they want to be able to do everything with one vehicle. And so that makes it very inefficient in some tasks, like commuting. A huge Cybertruck or an F-350 is not going to be a very efficient commuting vehicle, but it is the one vehicle that can literally do everything, except for, well, I guess plenty of... Yeah, you can't fly, but that's coming.
Flying Cybertruck.
Not yet. But yeah, you're right. I think that second category you mentioned is much more common. At least where I live, there are tons of people that will just drive to the grocery store, drive their kids to school, just in these big trucks, and they're hardly ever actually using them for work, which is why, as funny as it sounds, I'm like, there's probably a certain demographic that's like, I want a luxury, sporty experience, but I also want to be able to throw stuff in a bed when I need to have tons of practicality because some people just want like a vehicle that they can do that work stuff when they need it, even if that's like 1% of the year.
Yeah,
they'd like the option to move stuff around.
Sounds like a
not that they're going to move stuff
Hummer
around all the time
EV in a sort of way. Yeah,
that's a good example.
Except that thing's like a Super Duty.
I guess that's another. Yeah, I think that'll set some records for like worst efficiency on an EV.
Wasn't the first time.
Probably hit some kind of. Yeah, the Hummer's known for that. Record low numbers when it comes to miles per gallon or miles per gallon equivalent. So the EV version, I'm curious what the watt hours per mile is going to be.
Want to give a prediction, Nick?
Average driving.
Everything.
Ooh.
In terms of watt hours per mile for the GMC Hummer?
Just all of them.
1,000.
All of them?
Just all of them.
It uses a kilowatt hour per mile.
I guess
Just all of
for
the
reference,
miles,
my
yeah.
Model Y does about 300 and something. So,
Okay.
and that's a
Yeah.
compact SUV. So compare that to a Super Duty Hummer EV.
Didn't they say it'll have a 200
think
kilowatt
so.
hour battery?
Yeah, and its range is going to be like under 100 miles, I'm sure.
If its range is around 200 miles, then yeah, that would be pretty close to a kilowatt hour per mile.
Jeez.
I think you might be better for the environment using a Prius at that point. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
wait, can you put a Prius in the back of the
Might be like-
GMC?
Ooh.
No,
No.
it doesn't have a big bed.
I think I don't think the bed is very big on the Hummer actually.
No,
It's
the Hummers
pretty
Hummers look big and
afterthought.
impressive, but in person they're so small. I tried to fit in an H2 once in the backseat of an
Everything's
H2.
small to you, Nick.
Well, okay. It was smaller than I thought it would. You see a Hummer and you're like, oh, it's a big manly truck. Oh, it's, you know. No, I tried to fit inside of the back of an H2, and like everything's just like shorter and wider, which I guess works for some people, but I'm like wide and tall, and so I'm just sitting there like,
He's wide,
well,
Nick.
I really don't fit. Just wide Nick.
Nick is me and Drew in the
That's what
back
the Hummer
of the
is.
third row Model Y, but in the first row.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Hummer. I wonder how many people are genuinely planning on buying that thing.
20.
Knowing how expensive
Wait,
it
what?
is.
No, they sold out. They sold out
20
the first
people.
day, I think.
But they didn't
Was it
disclose
100?
how many
Maybe it was 100.
is sold out, right?
So I could
I
Thousand.
didn't
see
see
like
them
1,000
disclose.
people putting down, like, was it $1,000 or something? That's maybe refundable. Like, I could see that.
Yeah, something like that.
Like someone who's just like, I like my Hummer.
And they're gonna crab turn on the
Disclosure.
everywhere they go.
No, if I did have a Hummer, I'd do that.
It's like they're changing lanes on the highway and they just
That
crab.
would be terrible for
Crab.
wheels.
Both sides turn.
Car would go,
Yay!
the wheels are turning, and the vehicle's like, oh, I guess I'm going this way.
That's the on-ramp.
It's a feature for all those people that do the off ramp at the last second. They go all the way from the left lane to the off ramp.
Last thing.
Good luck, everyone else.
I hope Rivian makes a. I saw a report that said Rivian was exploring making smaller, more affordable vehicles for different demographics in like Europe
I'm sure
and
they got
stuff.
drawings.
I'd be curious to see their take on a
It
sedan.
would just have the same headlights, maybe, but smaller.
That's exactly what I was imagining. Same headlight.
I do like Rivian's headlights. Like, out of all of the EV headlights out there, if I couldn't have
Yeah.
the Cybertruck's headlights, I would
They're
want the
very
Rivian's
iconic.
headlights. Like,
I dig it.
the Rivian,
Yeah.
Rivian's is even better than like a Model S or Model 3, in my opinion. Like, they're very futuristic. Model S and Model 3 look aggressive and like
Very
luxury
sleek.
type vehicle. They look like a pouncing cat or whatever, just the way they're kind of slit, and they look very nice. But Rivians look futuristic in like kind of a retro way, kind of like retro futurism almost.
Like Meet the
where it's,
Robinsons type
you know,
of
kind of rounded ovals and yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
kind of yeah.
And
Meet
the light
Robinsons.
acts as a charging indicator.
Yeah, exactly.
front.
It
I like that.
very cool. And then you know, Cybertruck is perfect, so there's no beating that. But
So,
That's
Nick,
peak,
would you
but-
say for some
yeah.
reason, if the Cybertruck, you could not fit in it somehow, like maybe that slope
Heresy?
is just not enough for
When Elon said shrink it, he actually meant 30%,
no.
not 3.
driving around a Hot Wheel. I would still drive it just because it's the Cybertruck and it's perfect and it can do no wrong. It's the size of a smart car, but it's like the dimensions.
Okay,
of,
then how about this,
of the
Nick? If the
Cybertruck.
Cybertruck didn't
Yes.
exist, would you consider getting a Rivian then?
I think I would probably consider getting a Model 3 or Model Y before I would consider getting a Rivian if a Cybertruck didn't exist. Just because I'm not really a truck guy. And yeah, the supercharging and full self-driving, kind of just the Tesla ecosystem would attract me more than a truck in and of itself. But the Cybertruck, again, if the Cybertruck came out with like a cyber sedan, that'd be nice. Although the truck is very practical too. So.
Yeah. At least for me, it kind of makes sense. Like if my Cybertruck didn't work, if it didn't exist, I could see myself going for a Rivian, just because if we're doing a lot of towing with it, you're not using full self-driving.
Right.
So like, you maybe lane keep assist might be a thing that you can use for towing. Driver Plus.
Driver Plus.
Whatever they call it.
Driver Plus. Yeah.
Without light
anymore.
Thank
but
you.
I could see myself going with a Rivian. Just like, I don't know. Maybe the interior is a little bit too flashy for me. I think a little bit more rugged. Bougie. Yeah. Definitely a little bit bougie.
It is kind of premium. No, I dig the R1S.
I think it's a great product.
I think that's a solid... Tesla is just very, very in love with doing these crossover SUVs that are very bubbly and so sporty and stuff, but not too focused on functionality and being able to, have a roof rack and also fit 7 people. Is very difficult to do with Tesla's current lineup. Model X can't have a roof rack, and that's probably the best when it's sitting 7 adults, whereas the Model Y, it can seat 7, but it's like kind of. It sort of sits 7. For a certain demographic, but for people that plan on having kids that are going to grow past
5 adults and 2 small children.
Yeah, if you have a friend group that's going to be bigger than that, or you want to take around more people and you want to take it off-roading. Something I noticed on Rivian's website is almost not everyone, but almost every picture of their vehicles, it's on like a dirt road. It's hardly ever just on like a freeway or something. Pretty much all their pictures are them like way outside or in the snow or in the hills. They just like are planning on. That's what I like about them. Is like there's no vehicle currently that kind of competes with what the R1S is going for, of like 7-seaters, 7 adults with the roof rack with a bunch of cargo space. I think the R1S has something like 100 cubic feet of cargo space. Decent range. And compared to the X now, which is still, in my opinion, like that's my dream car. If you told me I could have any Tesla on the website, money's not a factor. Model X long range would be edition. Probably my choice. And yeah, with the yoke and everything. But this is cheaper than that. The Model X is now like a $90,000 crossover, which kind of puts it in a different class. If this is $70,000, $75,000 before tax credit. So I don't know. I think that's they got a pretty solid combo with these first 2 vehicles. And I like how honest their website is. They don't show everything after incentives and after rebates and everything. They just give you the purchase price. The design is cool.
And they offer colors.
The look. So I'm just... If you're going to call me a fanboy, call me a Rivian fanboy over anything.
I do like the colors, though. They're a lot.
Not Lucid.
They're a lot better than Tesla's lineup, I'd say, in terms of diversity. And they're a whole lot better than the Mach-E's diversity. Oh, yes. Of just gray,
there's like
silverish gray, white.
They do have a lot of grays on Rivians. They have LA silver, limestone, El Cap granite, and that does not count glacier white or midnight, which is just black.
At least midnight is black.
Man, the black one looks cool.
On Tesla's side, it's like my color,
black.
midnight silver metallic, which is gray. And then I don't know what if they have a midnight-ish color on Mustang's side, but I guess it's also gray.
Yeah, color options are, and I love the way Rivian's marketing their vehicles too, like lending them out to the Long Way Up crew and doing a whole TV show with them and stuff. I'm like, that's wonderful.
Give them a lot of data.
Do that more often.
I think Tesla should do that more because it gives them more data.
Oh yeah, and it gets us something to get excited.
No matter how many times it breaks down.
Yeah, even if it breaks down, I would watch the living crap out of a Cybertruck TV show, knowing how closely. I was watching Long Way Up and watching them drive around with the Rivians and seeing people in city streets see them and being like, "Whoa, what is that?" And they're like, "Okay, we want chargers here. Put chargers here." And with Tesla, it's like we are begging Elon every day to just like tweet a photo of the Cybertruck, even if it's not different. We're just like, please give us something. And yet they're like, oh, we'll give you an update at some point, and then they just don't talk about it. They don't show it. And the earnings call, they're like, yeah, Cybertruck's cool.
Hey, wait, solar.
Anyway, it'll come out later.
Are you getting the full self-driving beta there? Why, Model Y, Mike?
Well, I did put my name in the giant Twitter pool that Elon basically made a mad chaos run for everyone on Twitter.
I have no clue what he was thinking.
Anyone want FSD beta? Just let us know. And it's just like
every Tesla owner replies.
No one knows what that means. I think I read in someone's EV thread. Here it is. That the way to request is by emailing earlyaccess@tesla.com. Email them and tell them why. Tesla owners Quad Cities tweeted it. He was like, if you're wondering how to get in the beta, you email that. According to the Tesla service department, which I guess was getting spam messages about, how do I get on the beta? Can I get on the beta? Elon said, let us know, but we don't know what that means. So that was not Elon's brightest moment, I think.
No. He was just like, things are too quiet on my phone today. I really want to see, like, all of
Everyone's
No.
posting
Well,
their
it was the very
vids
same day that people thought he was dead. So instead, he's just like, you know what? This will get attention.
I know. What the heck? That dropped my heart. My heart stopped.
I did.
I'd be so
to be
sad.
guilty or being the guilty party, I did text Nick just the Twitter trending tag of "Rip Elon," but then very shortly after tweeted or messaged him saying, "JK, it's a joke."
Oh my God, Mike,
like,
you're mean.
What have you done to me? Yeah. Okay. So Mike says "Rip Elon" is trending, and you said "Rest in peace, you beautiful soul," and I was like,
"Oh my God, what? How could you?"
What happened? And my mind was going to like
how could you do such a
places thing? Of like, okay, did he die in like the SpaceX accident, or did his
the
plane
running
crash,
thing was that
or,
there was a fire at Fremont
Cybertruck?
and a battery exploded or something, and he was right next.
There
to
was
it,
an explosion.
Yeah.
To be fair.
It's sad because it almost sounds believable.
I did message you right after I wrote "Rip you beautiful soul."
You did, but I saw the notification come through on my watch. So,
oh my God, it's
like,
it's actually scary to know that he could like technically die at any time. Like he could just get in a car crash at some point.
Mm-hmm. I think
that's it.
The proper time for Elon to leave this earth, if he's ever going to leave this earth earlier than a natural demise of cancer, or which is terrible. That cancer is a natural way to die. I think it should be after Starship is actually making regular runs into space, and the Cybertruck is prevalent everywhere.
Yes.
And
on every planet.
We need Elon for the next 10 years, I think. We
10
need
years?
the 4680s ramped.
20 years.
And we need...
He's 50. We need to
I would say
70.
after 10, he can retire. He can just...
He can retire, but he needs to be around for the next 20 years.
All of his timelines are basically requiring the next 10. It's
exactly.
Like, we got to figure out how to mass produce Starship. We got to go to Mars, all of which is going to happen in the next 6 years. And then it's just going to be routine trips to Mars with supply runs for the self-sustaining colony. Once they get the colony up and running, he can just take off.
To be clear, I'm not wishing him dead.
After 10 years.
I'm just saying
no one here.
I want Elon to live to be 200
I'm just
if
saying
possible.
the minimum amount of time, if he was to die as soon as possible, give him at least 10 years. Like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would gladly donate a few years of my life to Elon just to keep him around.
I bet many people would if that was a thing you could do.
Exactly.
If you could donate
like
years of your life.
2 or 3 years at the very end, okay.
Stephen Mark Ryan would probably give like 50 years. I think
he's dead then.
He'd be like, take it. He's more valuable than I am.
True. Very true.
So Elon, if years were transferable, he would probably get a few thousand. Everyone would give him like
body
just
look
10
after
or something.
1,000
Tweets one
years alive.
He'd come up with some face
Neuralink would just
de-aging
turn into
technology.
Neuralink
he
would
had
go
that
into
much time.
body prosthetics. Maybe just
He'd probably become a digital entity. He wouldn't
Probably.
be a carbon-based
Honestly,
life
he might
form
in the
anymore.
next 10 years,
from
so-
Age of Ultron or Endgame.
Yes.
Or I guess not Endgame.
Yeah.
Or just
He'll just
WandaVision.
become like a piece of software that just spits out random ideas at all times. It's just like, here, try this.
Try that.
Here's how we could reform the garbage
Some random
industry.
computer in the corner.
Yeah. Here's my electric plane idea, and
Instead
it's
of
just shooting
Elon,
out all
like
these
how
ideas.
It's spelled, it's E.L.O.N. Elon.
Just some
Like
electronic logarithmic.
He did admit he's
Hmm.
an alien. So
This is.
there's that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Elon turned out to be an alien. If,
That would
like,
explain a lot. I've seen some people say he's the first time traveler, and he's just
He's
doing
just
everything he
sandbagging
knows will be the
everything.
future anyway. He's like, well, in the future we have a city on Mars, and we have reusable rockets, and we have electric cars everywhere. So I'm just going to go back in time and tell everyone how all this
I
is
mean,
going to
have
work
you seen
out.
pictures of his mom? She kind
May
of also
Musk.
looks like a time traveler. She has like funny hairdos and all these fashionable like futuristic clothes.
She's a marvel.
So I'm like,
that
yeah,
woman.
I could see that. She is. No,
Time
she's
traveler.
she's
You know,
a dearie
the
on Twitter
time
too,
travel
but-
thing doesn't. It's not a bad theory, just because if you think about what's the safest vehicle to produce during a pandemic, like what's the easiest one to build out of the Tesla lineup, which exactly happened. The Y. Like it's not as complex as the X with its Falcon Wing doors. It's not as range intensive as the Model S, and it's not as cost efficient as the Model 3. It's the perfect blend, and it so happened to get announced in
Everything.
Was it? No, I guess the beginning of 2019, but it gives them a year to produce it,
Yep.
and it's cash or not really a cash grab, but pretty easy segment to go for. So, yeah, I guess we just found out
Big
that
one.
Elon is a time traveler, or at least confirmed it in some way. Yeah.
It's
Well,
official.
I would.
I just wanted to say the Rivian interior is amazing. I'm looking at the configurator right
Actually,
now, and I dig it.
I prefer the Badger interior. The renders of the Badger interior are just on point.
Okay.
For the Badger. No, they just have like this black mountain color. It's like black wood across the dash, and it's a landscape center display. So I'm like, perfect. They got it. It looks great. Very minimal. Thank you, Rivian.
Yes. Still one too many
But it
pieces
doesn't
on the
look like
steering
a
wheel.
Tesla copycat at the same time. They found a way to make it look iconic and different, but still their own.
Yeah.
They're a little logo heavy. I don't think they need to put Rivian on the wooden trim.
Yes.
That's okay. We know what we're in.
And also, I love how it is like, kind of like this. Back to the Robertsons, kind of like future, old futurism, where it's like kind of rounded wood and it's very sleek. I do like it. It's
They have the handles
Oh, the OS
on
handles.
the ceiling, which Tesla does not do that. My wife always points that out whenever we get in Model Y Mike's Tesla. She's like, I want the
My
handle
wife does
here
the same
to
thing as
hold
well
on
when I
to."
rip around a corner. She goes to reach up and it's not there.
Oh,
and she
yeah.
immediately then reaches for the door handle, which is where you're supposed to reach.
it's more minimal that way.
And she's just
Live
like,
with
"Yeah,
that."
get us off the road.
It's not minimal. The
Oh.
best driver is no driver. They also put Rivian on the top of every seat.
We get it. We
I'm
know
like,
what we're
okay,
driving in.
Yeah.
It's all right. We know. We know. I think one logo on the back and the front maybe is fine, but when you start putting it like on the seat trim and the dash and the steering wheel and the side too, it says Rivian on the back and it says Rivian on the side, which I'm like, a little too logo heavy, but that's my only criticism. You can probably take those off. You can chip them away, but
It's like rip the threads out of
Anyway.
the stitching.
it's a dope design.
Very.
I wish I could invest in them.
We already have Lucid to kind of invest in, so I think it's good to at least have one private company right
Yeah.
now that I guess is bought out by Amazon, but still.
True.
Yeah.
Stay private as long as you can, Rivian. Keep it up.
Keep your privates.
And
I mean,
keep it private.
Keep it private.
Keep it private as long as you can. I do sometimes get annoyed, though, whenever we talk about any EV startup, everyone instantly goes to, how do I invest in them? It's like, can't we just be excited for the car?
Yes. Invest in
Not everything
excitement.
is a money grab.
in the tech videos I did on Starlink, it was like, yeah, this Starlink technology is so cool. It's going to bring internet together. And everyone's like, I can't wait till they IPO. It's like, just, is that all we can get excited for these days? Here's a new technology that lets you charge your phone over the air. Will it go public, though? How do we invest in them now? I want to get rich.
They made a new box that instantly gives you cancer as it charges your phone from across the room. How do you invest in it?
It stonks. We need more. I want it to go public. Lucid's threads were hilarious. Every time they would tweet something, they would just get bombarded by all these people. Like, when are you going public?
I think I'm guilty of that for one post.
For like a solid month.
Just one. But I think that was like early in the game.
It was the meme of Homer Simpson looking over Bart in his bed. And he's like staring at him. And the Homer Simpson one said, people tweeting about the Lucid merger, and then Bart Simpson was Lucid social media department. Just like, what are you doing? It was great.
Oh boy.
Anyways, thanks for making time for us, Mike.
Yeah,
I got all the time for an EV podcast, but thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you just have a full-time job in school and property to take care of and a life, but other than that,
yes,
a life or a wife.
Both.
Okay, both. All right. They're not mutually exclusive. All right, I wasn't really sure.
I don't think you can have a wife but no life.
There is some wives that typically can't be like that.
You can have no wife and I don't know. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. I'm glad we covered everything today. That was great.
There's going to be no news next week, no.
Or Aptera. That's true. Well, hopefully we get first Model S and X deliveries in the next week. I'm kind of surprised they haven't started yet.
I've seen a few posts saying that the process is getting near done for a lot of people's status. So,
yeah. There's some guy in our Discord that said his source claimed deliveries were happening on February 28th, and I was like, don't listen to that guy anymore. I don't think that's official. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a great week.
Have a good week. Bye.